Welcome to Town Board meeting, Thursday, July 20th. Please rise and salute the flag.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Emergency exits are behind the town attorney and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
Supervisor Perotti?
Here.
Councilpersons Doyle? Here. Blackman?
Here.
Revillard?
Here.
And let the record reflect that Councilman Gutierrez is absent. I don't know. That's why I keep looking every time the door opens.
Hey, is there any public comment?
Good afternoon, everybody, or good evening, everybody. I'm up here as a citizen, Paul Winters. I want to publicly thank R&R Concrete for recently purchasing a street sweeper. I know a lot of you guys know that last year I made some little bit of fuss about their concrete stuff that was going into the stream next to the concrete plant and then going underneath 22 right into our trout stream at Wasaik State Park. So I just want to publicly thank R&R for listening to the community and stepping up and taking care of this problem. Thank you very much.
George?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is George Bestranson. I live at 3498 Route 343. I want to talk about the planning board. I'm going to read this. The planning board meeting of July 12th had 4 items on the agenda: the reapproval of the site plan for 108 Westerly Ridge, the use of pesticides at Troutbeck, the acceptance of the Keene Farm development conservation findings, and providing a letter to the Duchess Land Conservancy stating that there is pressure to develop farmland in Amenia. 108 Westerly was previously granted a waiver from the requirement to build below 40 feet from the crest line. The lawyer for the planning board, said that no public hearing was necessary because the reapproval was a small matter. As someone who lives nearby, this is no small matter to me. I do not want the forested hills around me made into suburban housing tracts. 108 Westerly will be visible from 2 scenic corridors. If anything is built there, it should not be visible from Route 343 or the rail trail, and certainly not at a high point of the crest. But the planning board voted unanimously to reapprove the site plan. I would like to know the justification for waiving the regulation. I also ask that this waiver be reconsidered and be given a public hearing. The planning board lawyer emphasized, as if it were environmentally progressive, that in the conservation areas of Troutbeck, the pesticides and herbicides would be targeted. There's to be no property-wide spraying. We are to believe that these poisons will behave, not drift or be leached elsewhere. One board member asked if Troutbeck would use the pesticides and herbicides that the CAC recommended. The board's lawyer said no. The planning board voted that the Troutbeck pesticide and herbicide plan would have no adverse environmental effect. I know the town can't restrict the use of pesticides and herbicides, but let's not pretend that they have no adverse effect. Myron Benton's spirit must be distraught. 2 planning board members abstained from voting on accepting the proposed Keene Farm subdivision conservation findings. This was based on technicalities that the proposal was sloppily done. If this development is to be stopped, the planning board needs to say firmly that this land is zoned agricultural and it should not be used for luxury housing development. I've asked the town board before to strengthen the zoning regulations. Other communities use a 20-acre minimum to protect against development. But if we want to preserve the Keene Farm property, we also need a planning board and a planning board lawyer that works for the interests of the people of the town and not the developers. Finally, a representative from the Duchess Land Conservancy asked the planning board for a letter stating that there was pressure to develop farmland in Amenia. The letter was needed so that a farm could sell its development rights. With Silo Ridge, Westerly Ridge, and the proposed Keene Farm, there can be no doubt that Amenia is quickly losing its rural character. Nonetheless, the town board lawyer stated that the board could not endorse the removing of land from development. I couldn't believe my ears. Councilman Blackman was in the audience and had to speak, I suppose out of turn, but the town's master plan urged this very way of preserving farmland. The monies to buy the development rights are limited and there is competition, but our planning board is delaying until the planning board lawyer is satisfied that there's no bias for preserving land in the letter. We need a planning board that protects Amenia from overdevelopment. There must be a public hearing when zoning laws are waived. Before more farmland, woods, and open space is lost, please review the planning board's decisions and the advice of the planning board lawyer and make necessary changes. Thanks.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Good evening. Pat Nelligan, Lavelle Road. I'm speaking as Pat Nelligan, not a member of the committee, the Water District Committee. Although we do need help, and this is all my opinion, not the board, not the committee. The Water Committee needs help. We need some younger people to get involved, maybe expand the committee to 7, because 4 of us are geriatric. I mean, it's just... we got one young, vital member, and the rest of us are just getting ready to go somewhere else. So, well, it's true. We do need some younger people from the district who want to know what's going on in the district. And you don't know what's going on in the district, you people. I'm sorry, there it is. You don't know what's going on in the district. Most of us don't know what's going on, period, from this board, I'm sorry. But what's going on in the district is they're in the middle of funding and doing 2 huge projects that are could cost up to $550,000. Now, supposedly that's not going to happen, but you might not have ever heard about them. They were brought up on the water operator presented 3 proposals, and they were brought up in April, and 2 were acted on, 1 was tabled, and they've already started doing the 1. You just don't know the ramifications of all of this, because the one they're doing is basically looking to find a property to increase the water supply for the water district. Sounds wonderful. I mean, it's a good idea. We do need additional supply in the future. That's my opinion. But nobody's looking at the total cost of doing it. They're just looking at the testing of the site and then trying to keep it secret so you can negotiate with the owners and maybe get the property cheaper than you would if you let people know what's going on. It's not the cost of the property that's going to be the problem. It's the cost of integrating that parcel into the district, the cost of all of it would take to get those wells into production for the town, and what doors that opens for people on the periphery of the water district for trying to get into the water district. I don't think anybody's looking at that, but nobody talks about it. We don't have discussions. We have proposals, resolutions, no discussions. The last 3 meetings have been no discussions about anything. You get a proposal in, you develop a resolution before the meeting, everybody looks over the resolution, and you say, well, yay or nay, but you haven't talked about it. And I think that's just a long-term issue for this. But the Water District Committee needs help, and you really should get involved because there's a lot going on you don't know about. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Okay, there's no supervisor's report, town clerk report.
Absolutely. Good evening. To the board, I am presenting the resignation of Linda Gregory from the Recreation Commission.
Motion to accept with regret Linda Gregory's resignation from the Rec Commission, effective immediately.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Remillard?
Yes.
Make a motion to authorize the town clerk to advertise for the Recreation Commission open seat.
Second.
And just so the board knows, that is an unexpired term to expire on December 31st of 2025. Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Remillard?
Yes. Also
Presenting this night, our abstract totaling $663,287.30. And at this time, I'm seeking authorization for the supervisor to pay claims as follows. As our general fund, $221,878.04. Highway fund, $398,118.04. Amenia Lighting, $789.67. Wasake Lighting, $304.96. And for the Amenia Water District, $42,196.59. Again, for a total abstract being $663,287.30.
I'll make the motion that we approve payment of the claims as read.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
And Remillard?
Yes.
Just so you guys know, in your packets this evening, also circulating the May 25th and last meeting's July 6th. The reason why May 25th is in there, because I do need to have a majority to vote to approve those. So if we can do that for the next meeting. Also in our package, you're going to see, and as well as on our email, earlier today I did receive a document identified as recommendation number 2 of 2023 from the Water District Committee, and this is for EPA recommended lead and copper service line survey. Also want to acknowledge receipt and circulation within our packets this evening. Our operating statement for the period ending on 7/30 of 2023, the balance sheets of 7/30/2023, also the June 2023 monthly update from our SEBI Environmental Services. Marco does indicate the total number of gallons used in water. He does indicate any water line marked outdigs for Safe New York, emergency response repairs, any other items that he completed, and puts a note on the bottom. In our packets, I also acknowledge receipt of the department report for June 2023 showing that their income was $11,018. He does go through and itemize out using our title searches for residential versus commercial, fire inspections, and our permits, and noting on the bottom that there was 1 violation issued and 4 of them violations were follow-ups during the month of June. And in our packets, we also have our highway report dated this date showing that Megan's been busy doing the cleanup from the heavy rain. All of the roads have held up very well considering the amount of rain that we've received with no major issues. They're very lucky. The dirt roads had normal shoulder washings. We touched them up a little with grading yesterday and will completely repair them when the storms and water slow down. They have a shared service paver that they used on Separate Road and May Lane. There is limited usage because of the weather. Tower Hill paving project was completed on June 16th and took 5 days to do so. There were 2 over-the-bank issues where the streams narrowed. The new blacktop had no issues at all. We still have to do more shoulder backup on the blacktop and hopefully finish next week. And that's being submitted by Megan. Other than that, I don't have any other written reports for me to acknowledge. I do want to just give a friendly save the date to all of the audience and those that are watching in TV land. Everybody knows how near and dear a blood drive comes to me and the Kligner family. Well, at the Amenia Firehouse on August 9th, we're going to be holding another blood drive for this year. And I do believe Mets tickets might be in the loop if you participate, where last time we got cool socks. I don't know if people like those Mets games, so these tickets might be a hot commodities, so come on down to the Amenia Firehouse on August 9th between 3 and 7. We'll have the poster located up on our website as well as our entry doors, and the posters are starting to go up on Facebook, so hopefully you can support that fun local event. That'll conclude the town clerk's report.
Recreation Commission?
Good evening, everybody. How is everybody doing? So the music, I'm not going to really get into our rec directors too much, but I just want to say to the community, thank you very much for showing up for our music series. Our first week we had about 100. Last week we had about 200. And out of that 200, there must have been 40 to 50 kids down there playing on a Monday night. We find that fantastic, phenomenal. We also started seeing a little bit of economic opportunity occurring as Four Brothers came down to serve food, and they made a little bit of money. Blackbird Bistro out in Mossaic offered free delivery that night. They made a little bit of money. We plan on offering 3 different types of food down there this coming week. Pizza, wings, and the Tianda on the street corner there is looking to sell some street tacos. So please come on down. We're very excited to see the community come out and do this. All right, so for the commission, first of all, we want to thank Linda Gregory for all of her years that she put on that commission. She did a lot of hard work. We want to congratulate her on her grandchild coming this year. That's an exciting chapter in anybody's life, so we completely understand her need and want to step away from the commission. So if you guys listen, we got a pretty exciting rec commission going on here. So we need someone to step up in the community, right? So we can keep this thing going. Something that I noticed here on your resolutions tonight, 2 weeks ago when I was here, I asked for the town to please pass at least vote on a resolution tonight on the Amenia Green concept, because as the email showed to you guys, we cannot move forward with our grant application for anything that's due next week without a resolution. So I don't see that on the agenda tonight. I'm just asking if that's going to be voted on, or has the town board decided that's not something they want to pursue at this time?
We haven't had a discussion since the last meeting, but we certainly might discuss that under other matters.
I'm sorry, I'd say that.
I said we haven't as a board had a discussion since the last meeting, but I can bring that up under other matters.
Okay, thank you. The next item, hang on, let me get back to my phone here. On July 12th, Town of Amenia Building and Zoning issued a citation, a violation for the playground equipment down at Beekman Park. Gave us 30 days to rectify that equipment. In our research, we learned that equipment has been defective for 5 years, way before I got on the rec commission. So I'm kind of curious as to why suddenly we were issued a violation and only given 30 days to repair this equipment. I'm pretty sure that the town board was running recreation all these previous years. I guess my question to the town board would be, why wasn't it addressed then? Why is it now a problem when it hasn't been a problem the previous years? I noted that we just recently had the family fun day down there, and I saw pictures of all these kids using this slide equipment with no issues and no problems. Kids have been using it for the past 5 years with no issues and no problems. I feel that we could take the equipment out of service pretty easily, but do we really want to do that? So I'm going to ask, the commission has asked me to ask the town board for your direction on how you want to approach this. At our last rec meeting about a week and a half ago, we had already asked the rec director to start researching grants to replace this equipment. And in fact, we wanted to roll it into this grant that we're looking to apply for on July 28th. We think that we could be successful in applying for this engineering grant and for grant, down at Beekman Park at the same time, and to resolve this problem. But that still doesn't explain to me why the town board or the building department is suddenly issuing us a violation. So we would like some kind of explanation as to that, if you could give one.
Well, the Recreation Commission has been aware of this for several years because it's been brought up at Recreation Commission meetings. I think it's counterproductive to go looking for blame to see who we can point fingers at. It's a defective piece of equipment. It's not ADA compliant, and it needs to be removed.
As far as the ADA requirements down there, it's my understanding that we're grandfathered in down there, right? So it's the same thing with the bathrooms. All this stuff was put in before ADA requirements came in play. So that doesn't apply to us until we go to renovate it.
It's still defective.
It's still defective, so why didn't the town board take care of it before? Why is it now an issue?
It's been an issue.
So you're leaving it to this current.
I am not going to get into a he said, she said
It's not
with
a he-
you.
it's not- it's
It
not a he-
needs to be removed,
It's not a he said, she said.
period.
The facts simply show that it's been defective for 5 years. The town board was pretty much running recreation in the previous years until we got revitalized this past year. So that was the question. It's a simple question. We can take the slide out. Is that the direction from the town board?
What is the issue with that piece of equipment?
It's got some cracks in it,
It's,
on the edges, is my understanding.
it's got more than cracks in it.
Okay, so is the directive from the town board for us to take it out of commission?
Yes.
Okay, no problem. I think that was it for the commission, right? Miss Nicole? No, she's the rec director. That's different from the rec commission.
Oh, does Katie need to?
Yeah, Katie
speak?
has her report. She wants to give a report on what she's done for the
Okay,
past
are you
month.
finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Katie?
Hi. So the mailer went out for August, September, October. It went out this week, so people should be seeing it in their mailboxes. I brought some samples for the board. Just want to pass it over to you. Just so you guys can see it. The next thing is our senior picnic is next Saturday, July 29th at 12 p.m. at Wasaic Firehouse. We still have spots available, so just give me a call here, 845-373-8118, and that's extension 124 to sign up. Just like Paul said, our music series has been going really well, so those concerts go through August 14th at 6 p.m. on the basketball courts here. The last thing is I've been working with the Amenia Library on a few things. So this past week we put up a story walk that starts at the library, comes up the basketball courts and through the playground, and then ends back at the library. That's something that the library is doing, but I just helped them out with the space for the playground and everything, so kids could like play during this story walk and then head back to the library and get their prize and whatnot. The next thing is the library and recreation will be hosting 2x2 Animal Haven on August 9th at 10 a.m. and that will be at the library in their little backyard space that they have. That's about it. My only other thing was I don't think the playground should be taken out of service. Every time I go there, all I see is kids there on the playground. So it would be a very poor decision for the kids in Amenia to just take something away from them. Those are the two playgrounds that are used the most, is the Town Hall and Beekman, and currently right now the Monarchs game is going on, and I can bet you there's about 10 to 15 kids on the playground. I get that there are issues with it, but it's been like that for a very long time, way before I was even a thought for the town of Amenia. So it's just very frustrating that I'm getting a lot of this happening right now. That playground is a lot, and the kids would really miss it if they're there at baseball or whatever. I think there would be a better solution than just taking the whole thing down and saying, forget the playground. But that's my
Nobody's
opinion on that.
forgetting the playground. But we're not leaving defective equipment and, and risking any children getting hurt.
I understand that, but it's been, the one slide that was the biggest issue has been blocked off properly. So the kids can't go down it or crawl up it or whatever. So that one slide has been blocked off. The other slide was repaired for the way that it needed to be fixed. So removing the whole playground is a huge disservice to the kids in the town of Amenia and Wasaic. But That's all I have to say.
Are we talking about removing the whole playground, Victoria, or
No,
just that one
absolutely
piece?
not.
Just the slide?
Yeah, just the one piece that has the broken pieces on it.
Wasn't there a replacement that you wrote a grant for $80,000 for
Yes.
CDBG and it did not get funded? Why did it not get funded?
It did not get funded because Dutchess County Planning has a map for low and moderate, and it didn't meet the low and moderate income in that particular area. That's
That
what they-
neighborhood doesn't meet that requirement? Huh.
Well,
I thought it was
that's
every-
what,
Oh, go ahead.
that's what they said, and they would know, because they have a map with all the income areas in Amenia. So I tried to get that.
I
And
just
there may be other ones other than
I just want to make
that.
clear, the grant that we're going for is through the New York State Parks and Recreation Grant. And the funding, the question that we're talking about is income level. For the New York State Parks and Recreation, your community needs to be 10% or greater for of people below means of income in order to approve this grant. If you look up in that matrix that they have, it shows Amenia proper being at, with the 12501 zip code, of being 12.6. So we believe we can be successful in this grant application. It appears the grant application source last time was the wrong direction to follow. We believe that we have the proper direction to follow. Same thing with when we get to Wassaic. Wassaic is at 26.7% below poverty level. The problems down in Wassaic was because we were trying to place equipment, as we discussed a couple weeks ago, into a floodplain, and that's why those grants were denied. So thankfully, Wassaic project stepped up this year and offered some land that was not in a floodplain. So that makes us believe that we can be successful when we go for these grants. We believe, if the town board gets this resolution done here pretty quick, that we can successfully go for a grant here in Amenia proper for new playground equipment. Like I said, it's just the wrong source was chased last time. We believe we had the proper source this time.
Paul, have you spoken to the Foundation for Community Health? Because I've spoken to them about other projects in town. They were set up when Sharon Hospital became privatized, and they have a pool of money that's distributed for health, which recreation will certainly.
There's pools of money, there's sources of applications everywhere, right?
Right, but for the slides specifically, because I agree, like, it was not a great idea to take down the trees in Wassaic just before Christmas. It's probably not a great idea to go very long without that.
So
slide.
unfortunately, this equipment is no longer, this playground equipment is no longer in production. We cannot purchase just a slide and replace the slide. That was the first thing we looked into, and unfortunately, that's not something that we can do. We're going to have to replace the entire playground equipment, and currently the prices are coming in between $65,000 to $80,000. That's just for the equipment. That doesn't include the installation. And then once we get into
That includes the installation.
at prevailing wage, I'd find that hard to believe.
Well, we have an
All right, so I'm wrong.
We
I'm
had
mistaken.
I had gotten an estimate from
Okay, that's fine.
Parkatech.
I'm mistaken.
And they are actually state bid.
I understand, that's Parkatech, right?
Yeah.
Right, so we're trying to expand our horizon beyond Parkatech, because Parkatech has provided all the playground equipment around here for years. There's new, exciting playground equipment out there. I'm currently installing some at a school down in Darien, Connecticut.
The grant that...
But we're looking. But the point, what I'm trying to get to is, we do have a grant source to chase. We just need a resolution from you guys.
But is that what that grant specifically asked for? Is a resolution? Because not all of them do.
Yes, ma'am, that's what, I sent the email, followed up with you guys last 2 weeks
Well,
ago.
if we need to, we can do a special meeting to get you your
I
resolution.
just need a resolution saying that you
But
guys...
we need to have the specific grant information, and then
It's the New York State Parks and Recreation. It's through the consolidated funding.
it's under the CFA?
Yeah, the CFA.
Okay.
It goes through that. That's the same thing that we're trying to do with the engineering report, so we can get the town a price of what it would actually cost for this concept, right? That's what, we're trying to go to the next step. We're trying to
Yeah.
improve.
Do you need a new quote from Parkitect for that?
No, we have to submit multiple quotes, and we've already gotten those.
So you've got them all?
We've gotten the quotes for.
Yeah, I'll work with you on
For the
that.
playground, but we've already gotten the quotes. We've already done the work. The rec director and I, as we promised 2 weeks ago, if you guys told us that there was a good chance this resolution would be passed tonight, we would start working on it. And we have been spending our hours. The rec director, I'm surprised, doesn't have extra gray hairs after all the time she spent reading through the 300 pages of this grant. So that's up to you guys.
Well, why don't you get with me, and I'll see what you have, and I can work with you on that. And then if I need
But-
to, I'll do a special meeting.
I'll let the rec director.
Okay, so all day I've been reading this 212-page packet on this grant and everything that we need. It's not a resolution, it's a letter of intent saying that, yes, you are willing and interested in the
I can-
grant and doing all this work.
I can do that.
Yes.
If we don't need a resolution, I do
It's-
that all the time for
Yes.
grants. So I'd be happy to do that.
That is fine. The grant would include the Amenia Green concept that the Rec Commission wants to do, and then I want to add, and the Rec Commission wants to add, the playground, so we can get funding to put a brand-new playground in there. Because all the quotes that I've gotten, I've spoken to probably 5 or 6 different companies, are in between $70,000 to $85,000. That's with install, delivery, and everything. And then they put in better bedding back on the mulch. The grant that we want is you have to have the money up front, but you can get that within a year, okay? And in that money within a year, then they either match it up to 75%, including $500,000. So that's, I don't know if that was made clear at any point or whatnot, but I just want to explain that after.
Well, you have the money.
Well, for the grant?
How much total is the grant project? How
I
much are
don't
you
have,
asking?
you don't ask for a certain amount. So they either fund up to 70, so say your project is $100, right? You submit for reimbursement for that $100, and they can say, all right, we're gonna give you $25 back, or they're going to give you $75 back. They either give up to 75%, and the cutoff is $500,000.
So any amount you can ask for, the maximum they will reimburse you for is 75% of the project.
Or up to $500,000. So say the project is
Yeah, well, we're not going to.
$1 million or
That's
whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
we're not
yeah.
going to get that
Yeah.
far, right? I
You're
mean,
not
we're
gonna
going
get that far,
to
no.
stay within what we have in the bank,
No.
right? Yeah.
But that is the whole concept of the grant. It's not like a specific number. You're saying, hey, I'm asking for $100.
But they have money in the savings account.
Yeah, so they know
I have a
how much they
question
can
just
spend.
about the grant application. Adding the playground equipment is new since the last time we spoke. Does that require a second application, or can the engineering and the playground equipment, which are different things, be combined?
You can
Okay.
either do separate applications or you can tie them into one application.
It would probably be better to do separate.
That's what I'm thinking. It sounds,
Well, if they turn that, you know, first of all, there's a lot of competition for these grants.
Yes. So
You-
these,
I mean, I think we'll have a better chance if they're broken into two.
agreed, yes. Yeah, okay.
Nicole Ahern, Rec Commission. That's my question is, we're trying to figure this out on our own, and it would be helpful if we had some people to back us up on the board that are familiar with writing grants to help us go through this process.
We have choice words,
A
which
grant
is.
writer?
Yes, we have one
And we've
on
reached,
contract.
the director has reached out and asked, and we
Asked
haven't
her?
gotten anywhere.
I did say I would
Ask.
help her, but I'm only available really Saturdays. So that's my
The rec
limit.
director has reached out to the grant writer, and the grant writer has not responded in any form or fashion.
The grant writer we have on
Yes, ma'am.
contract.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. So.
I'll work with
I
her
don't
on
think
that.
we've got
Back
her
to
in
the
the
money part, we
contract
have
for CFA.
120
She wanted a different amount. She wanted $7,500 flat fee to do the CFA.
We have
grants.
$120,000 in our savings account roughly, I believe. We've been told privately that there are donations available to the community once we start applying for this grant application. Yes, you have to spend the money first, and then they give you the grant back, right? And if we can get 25% in donations from the community, and then we get that 75% back, then it's actually ended up costing the taxpayer not a dime. I think it's a worthwhile effort. That's all I got to say.
So I remember clearly that to do a CFA grant, because it's complicated, they offered us to do it only with a flat fee of $7,500. And some reason that sticks in my head in the contract, but we can look at that. And so if you wanted to do that, we'd have to authorize, and they really needed to start a month ago, because I don't know.
That's why that I and the rec director took it upon ourselves to
do it.
learn how to write a grant, right? We've been working really hard on this. We think that we're there. We're at the cusp. So
Well, whatever you need from me, let me know.
We need
You
a-
need a you don't need a resolution, you need a
I was under
letter.
the impression that we need a resolution. I'm not seeing this letter of support. I thought it was a resolution.
It's a letter of intent. It's a little different.
I thought it was a resolution. I think we need to be clear on that tonight.
Well, you can go back and look and
Yeah,
let me know.
We'll go back and look.
And
Thank you.
I'll work with you on that.
I'm gonna go grab all the paperwork, okay?
Yeah, but
And
you're
then
not going through it tonight. huh?
I'm just gonna read
Not
it.
112 pages.
Yeah, we're not gonna read, it's 212 actually, but we're not.
Are you going to be here tomorrow?
So, I'm pretty sure that Ian responded to my email last week that
When it
he thought
said,
it was a resolution.
it
also.
wasn't. I believe it said a letter of intent.
Which I can do.
I will look, and I will send you an email when I have that answer. How does that sound?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Katie.
appreciate it.
Okay, other board and committee reports. Are there other committees here that need to report?
Sure, I'll just quickly, hi, Charlie Miller with the Amenia Housing Board. We had a really great meeting tonight. Hudson River Housing presented their initial site plan for the 15-acre parcel that they purchased just north of Town Hall on the west side. And they are planning on, so everybody who's watching, to give a presentation to the town board in 2 weeks on, I think that's August the 3rd.
August 3rd.
3rd, yes, ma'am. So they are really looking for feedback. They'll be presenting that preliminary site plan, what the unit count is, the way they see the parcel being put together, and we'll be open to hearing everybody's questions. And then following that, there will be several community forums that will build upon, getting community input for the project. So it's extremely exciting that they are moving along with it and bringing that to Amenia. I don't know if this is the time that I should speak about the work that Brad and I did about collecting proposals for the various risk assessments. I know I've emailed back and forth with the town board, so I'm sure you guys have read some of those emails and maybe not others. But following your executive session last time, when I think you voted to have 5 risk assessments performed on the Lake Amenia property, that's lead-based paint, asbestos, excuse me, septic, radon gas, and wood pest. Working with Brad, we assembled a number of vendors and reached out to them and received quotes, which we have provided to you guys, and a recommendation to take the lowest quote of each one of those. Lead-based paint and asbestos is performed by one vendor, septic is one vendor, and then radon gas and pest is one vendor. So it's 3 different professionals. There was some questions about if this needed to be put out to an RFP, if the town engineer needed to put together that RFP. I had a brief conversation with him. He doesn't believe that he needs to be somebody who does that, and it's not required. The asbestos and lead paint professionals were provided with the list of items that needed to be cured inside the house. That's what determines where they test and why they test for those 2 items. And that's what their proposals were based off of. As you saw in those proposals, their reports for both of those items will meet the HUD requirements for reporting, as well as New York State and the Dutchess County requirements. Dutchess County procurement guidelines state that any goods and services that are below $5,000 do not need to be put out to multiple bid. None of those services of those three professionals is over $5,000, so it falls within that guideline as well. Are there any questions around that? Because I know we've had some confusion.
I see in our minutes, yes, the town board requested quotes for radon testing, pest testing, lead and asbestos testing, and a phase 1 environmental assessment. I didn't hear the last part, but it's, in accordance with Dutchess County planning requirements. So the environmental assessment comes later?
I was not made aware of an environmental assessment that would need to be done, and I'm not sure why you would do an environmental assessment for, you are renovating a pre-existing home. So was that on direction of somebody? Is there was?
We typically do that for acquisition, I believe, just to make sure there are no hazardous materials buried somewhere on the property, or that's my understanding.
I mean, that's a new, I apologize. Nobody had told me that we were looking to do,
I think, well, it can be done, right? It will probably need to be done at some point, but it probably at this point is premature because, right, if there's
well, it's
other
not a,
risks,
so
then-
that's fine if the town wishes to do that, if the town board wishes to do that. It is not part of the contingencies for
Right.
the Community Development Block Grant, which we are trying to satisfy.
Right.
So, we are doing these, and to be clear, the 3 risk assessments that are in the Community Development Block Grant contingencies are lead-based paint, asbestos, and the septic. And we have to get those assessments/inspections so that they then are used to incorporate into the bid package for a contractor to bid on curing them, right?
Right.
So that's why we need this done now, so that then I'm working with Leo, who's a registered architect and has kindly offered up his services for free to the town to put together the bid package, which once we get those assessments back, we incorporate that into what needs to be done. That gets sent to the county to approve and to add legalese. Maybe they want revisions to it. Once we have a final bid package, it then gets put onto the county's big.net, the same way that our sidewalk, I think you're actually voting on that tonight, the same way that that sidewalk bid was. And there's a time period for people to respond to it. And then we need to know, once they come back with prices, if those prices exceed what our budget is for that work, then this project isn't feasible. So we're just trying to get to that next step.
I had a question on the 2 quotes for the lead and asbestos,
Yes.
because I looked at Paradigm, which is the one you recommended, and then I read the geo-environmental, and of the 2, the only one that mentions that paint inspection will comply with HUD guidelines is the geo-environmental and not the Paradigm. And that was one of the things that Dutchess County Planning requires, is that, we follow HUD guidelines.
Yes, so it's a good question. The geo-environmental, I went back to them because their original quote didn't mention any reporting, and they added that specifically. They copied and pasted it for my email. I will say that Paradigm is a very large testing facility that does this very frequently, and that their reports will comply with HUD and New York State. And to be clear, this is I'm going to get the technology wrong, but the inspector walks around with a gun that ultimately, they point, and it's like an X-ray throughout the home, inside and outside, based off of where there will be work or where there is chipped paint and stuff of that nature. It's not...
Well, I just wondered why they didn't mention following HUD guidelines in their estimate.
Again, I think that geo-environmental just copied and pasted what I had sent them. And I will say that I reached out to 5 different vendors to do the testing, and I did receive another quote, but it was just kind of gibberish, and so it wasn't, to me, professional. The other 2 just don't do work in this area, which is something that we came up against, where...
I'm pretty sure that all these testing facilities follow HUD guidelines.
But they didn't say it.
I know it's not said there, but I'm pretty sure they all do.
It
Because they have to be
says for geo, it says
they have to
paint
be
look.
certified
I
in
know,
order to do the
that's
testing.
the one that does, and they're
And
recommending
Paradigm.
using the other one.
I see.
And it doesn't, so I
I
just
can
questioned it.
have him include that in, I had several conversations with all of these individuals, so I can have him include that into his proposal. I know that it was in one of the emails that he sent back and forth to me, but maybe he just didn't get into the document that he sent.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that, if we're going to go ahead and do this, that
No,
it's
you're
going to
totally-
be useful to us.
Well, you're totally right. You're totally right. I mean, I was surprised by this is something that came up when we discussed this at the Housing Board, when you look at the number of samples that GE Environmental say they're going to take. So there's, again, this is not my field, but what I've learned in the last couple of weeks. There's two different types of asbestos testing. One is like, I think, a free-floating sort of thing, and another is, it's compact. GE Environmental, based off of the work that will be done in the house, I think are doing, a smaller number of samples than Paradigm is quoting, but Paradigm quotes much more reasonable. It was also very encouraging that they were visiting they had 3 different sites that they were actually testing in Amenia when I was talking to him. So, well, Dover Plains, something in Millbrook, general facility area. Are there any other questions about?
Ian, pull your,
So after the last meeting, Vicki, you had forwarded an email to me that you received from the county,
From Audra?
from Audra.
Yes, and Charlie can address the
Brad spoke to Audra.
requirements.
So I had spoke to Victoria about this for some advice, and she suggested I call Audra, and then she had sent it to me, and I forwarded it out to everyone.
So based on that email that you had sent to me, that's where John Andrews put together that report. That's why that resolution was created and is before the board tonight. Since then, there has been, I think, conflicting information from the county as to the requirements of what's going on. So based on that, I made a phone call to Audra to see if I can clarify why in one email she's saying it's required, and I'm hearing from, I think, Charlie and Brad that it was not required.
I'm sorry, that what's required?
RFPs.
The
A
bid
more
specs and a bid
formal
package and a
process.
a formal bidding process.
Right.
So there's confusion on it. So I called Audra, and Audra indicated to me that she wanted to speak to her boss about it. And I said, well, we have a meeting Thursday night. Can you get back to me? And she got back to me pretty quickly thereafter and said, my boss isn't in until Monday. So can I, so I don't have an answer on any clarification on it because it's conflicting right now, and I don't know if it.
I'm sorry, are we talking about the issue of whether an RFP needs to be sent out for these tests?
The RFQ that was recommended from the engineer, that process was based on a not really a recommendation, it was an email from Audra. So that's.
At the time, we didn't have quotes, though, so he's gotten quotes. They're under 5,000. I understand this is pre-CDBG. These are requests that we, the town board, have asked to find out initially whether or not this property is even worth proceeding with the grant, and that the grant covers other deficiencies illustrated in their letter. That's what we're required to do, and both the procurement policy for the county and for our own town board is that you can just simply go out and get quotes if the quote is under 5. That's what I understand. Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong.
It is, and to sort of take another step back, I think that Vicki's forwarding the HQA and things to John Andrews, our engineer, was requesting truthfully help with putting together the RFQ for the overall project.
grant-funded
Because we had
items.
had a back and
Correct.
forth with Audrey about that, because we asked, do you have specific guidance you want to give us? And she said, oh, you should work with your engineer. And I quickly spoke with John Andrews. He said, well, you know, I honestly, I mean, there's not much more that you're going to put together here that I'm not, I mean, I'm going to take what the HQA is. So people understand, so it's the home quality inspection, which is just items that you have to correct, you know. He said, I'm going to do the same thing to give to, you know, a risk assessor, well, to the asbestos or lead-based paint. I will say, with respect to Dutchess County with Audrey, you know, there's been a number of things that have come through that ultimately when you say, oh, no, actually the regulations are X, they're not Y, they go, oh, okay, sorry. But I agree with you that we're doing this risk assessment in anticipation of this. They aren't even, you know, their funding for the HQA curing is not going to be for these things. I mean, this to me, it's in the same vein as a survey. We did an appraisal. We did all of those things as, you know, pre-items.
Yeah, the town is asking for radon, the town is asking for pest, you know, that's not things
Those
that the
items,
county needs to
the lead
get
and,
involved in.
the lead and asbestos, though, is part
Eventually,
of.
that part would need to be.
No, the assessment is as well. It's in the April 5th
But
letter and
it's
part of
under
the contingencies.
5,000, so it doesn't require that level. And
It's the board's
Audra's
decision.
letter.
I'm just saying there's
Audra's
mixed
letter
messages from the
was
county.
very specific. She said a town usually works with the town engineer and an architect to do it. Well, we have an architect on the town board, and we have people
These
who
are not
can
really,
do
yeah,
the
and they're
work.
not complicated. And we went above and beyond the procurement guidelines from the county because these services are less than $5,000, but we still went out and we
Collected.
requested 5 bids. We got, you know, 2 that are very solid. And we need the results of this, truthfully, so that we can then put together the bid package.
I'm only reporting to the board what the message I got from the county, and we have, in my opinion, 2 conflicting emails about, I'm not even sure the second one's in an email or not, but there's definitely 2 conflicting opinions as what the county is requiring. So it would only be my recommendation to the board that we clarify that before we make any further movement on it. But it's the board's decision. They can approve the resolutions that they want.
Are there any other questions related to any of that stuff? So the final thing, which is what the homeowner is actually going to require to be able to give us access. And I know there's been some confusion around that. Victoria, your last email was that, Ian, you're going to put together an access agreement, I think, for the house versus providing a COI.
I'm going to speak to the attorney about what an arrangement that we can come up with that's, I think, agreeable to the town, protects the town as to access. There's been a lot of phone tag between myself and the attorney. This week he was unfortunately admitted to the hospital. So he was in, I think, Monday, Tuesday. He said he was coming home Wednesday. He didn't call me. I reached out. He said he would call me today. He didn't get back to me today, so I did call him again today. I left him a message. So there's just been no touching base at this point. So
Can I ask why a COI wouldn't be sufficient? It was acceptable to their attorney, as far as I understand. Why our normal procedure, which costs nothing for the town, wouldn't we pay $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 for general insurance? This is what our insurance company does each and every time we need insurance, just a certificate of insurance. It's just standard business, and we pay a lot of money, and they're always obliging.
we would be listed as an additional insured on their policy. So if anything happens to that house during the time that we're listed as an additional insured, you could be facing a claim on your insurance. I think that's a lot of exposure, and I think there could be other ways we could work this out. We didn't have to do that. So I think it's worth trying to negotiate with the seller's attorney to find another alternative. And there are other alternatives that we could do.
But aren't we doing the same for the Habitat for Humanity? We're providing certificate of insurance for them to do soil testing?
No, they're putting us on theirs.
Putting us on
It's
theirs.
the opposite.
Okay, the
So
opposite.
so that's actually a very good example, because the seller's attorney has said, In that case, we would be providing a COI and naming the seller actually as additional insured. The town would be an additional insured. It's that the seller's insured for, if something happens while we're doing these risk assessments. I don't personally have an opinion as to how we get to it, but it's been a month now. And we have to get access to the house so that we can develop this bid package, as well as when hopefully you guys tonight will do something with these vendors. And we don't have access. So.
Yeah, because since I'm writing the bid package, I need to get in to actually know which doors are sticking and quantify dimensions of things, and this is holding that up as well. So again, it would be really nice.
So with Habitat, what we're doing is there's also a hold harmless agreement, which is part of the resolution tonight. There are other ways we can do this that doesn't expose, I think, the town as much. So as soon as I can get a hold of the attorney, it can be done very quickly.
So you have a standard form that can be used. We're flipping the names between us and Habitat. It would be actually us and the seller.
As I said, there's a number of ways to skin a cat. So I'd like to talk to the attorney to see if we can figure out a way to do it.
But
what's best.
So if we're skinning the cat the second way, that will require you coming back before the board to giving a resolution to be able to enter into that agreement. Is that correct?
If there was an agreement to be signed, yes, it would require that, yes.
Okay. So we would not get access to the house for another probably 3 weeks, because the board meets in another 2 weeks, and then the seller has to mail us the keys, which will take another couple of days.
So wait a minute. The COI would protect the town, but the seller is asking for personal protection for the people who are entering his property. Is that correct?
My understanding is the seller's attorney would accept a certificate of insurance from the town naming the seller as additional insured, which insures the seller for things that happen caused by a vendor of the town. And I would imagine that that's not something that, I would imagine that's happened before in the town, where we've gone onto somebody's property and they've wanted, I don't know, the water, there has to be other examples that's done. I mean, COI.
Well, the bottom line is that the town attorney needs to get with the seller's attorney, and no one else should be in the middle of that.
I'm fine with it.
I mean, I was only authorized at the last meeting to actually talk to the attorney, so it may have been a while, but it hasn't been a while for me, and then I've been trying for 2 weeks to
Unfortunately, he had a medical emergency and was in the hospital, so I'm sure he'll be in touch with Ian shortly.
But a COI, if we do that on if we've done that for other projects, would mean we don't have to wait another week to have a resolution drafted. So I'm not sure why we can't. Why is this a problem to do a COI when other things that the town does?
I don't know of other instances where the town has done that. I haven't talked to Byron about it. I don't know Byron's opinion on it.
What about like the town when we do volleyball at the school gym? We name them as an additional insured, right?
No, those are all the vendors naming us as additional insureds. This is the reverse of that.
The vendor names.
So it sounds to me like the town board may have, well, I guess now if you're doing a letter of intent for the rec committee, you're actually not going to have a special meeting. So then. Maybe not. They have new information. They'll be returning for Act 3.
Well, they can actually meet with me. We don't have to go through all that here.
He says he needs a resolution. Yes, we do. I think he needs a resolution. So maybe next week there's a special meeting. Same time. We can do that. Maybe that's what happens. So, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlie.
Paul Winters, Amenia Recreation. I'm going to provide this, guys, to you. Planning grants, or no, community support is what you're looking under. Got 3 copies. It says, can I borrow your copy, please? Community support. Documentation of community support may include an official resolution by the governing body of the applicant approving or endorsing the project and affirming public community support for it. Evidence of public participation, public outreach. So to me, that means that we need an official resolution. Unless I'm interpreting this incorrectly. It's at the top.
The second paragraph.
Second paragraph, community support.
It says may include.
Anytime something suggests something, it usually means they want to see it if you're going to have any success in these competitive grants. If you guys choose not to do it, just give us a letter of resolution. We'll try with that. I don't care one way or the other. I put my effort into it. It's up to you guys whether we go forward with it or not.
Get it to you on Monday.
Yeah, so with regards to
also
the
says
requirements
letter of
on this
support.
grant, I did look into these, and I did send an email to the board. It looks like it was July 7th. I sent an email going through all the requirements and some of the concerns I had. So the board does have that. If they want me to recirculate that, I can. So,
I'm sorry, so what was your decision as to the what is required from
so
the board for this grant?
there are requirements in here that, for instance, first, it's a reimbursement of up to 75%, so the town would have to upfront the cost. As was previously said, it requires a secret review. There's some photos requirements, schematic and site plan. A scaled topo map needs to be done, 2 estimates for professional services to establish a basis for what the cost would be. Now, I don't know how much the Rec Commission's done, or they may have a lot of this already, so we could be in good shape. I don't know. My concern is the secret review. That might take time, depending on what's involved.
I'm sorry, does that have to be done in advance of applying for the grant?
So it's unclear in the instructions, and part of my instruction, my suggestion in my email was that we should probably reach out to the grant coordinator on that to find out, to get clarity, so you don't go down a road and then hit a roadblock or.
There are people you can ask about if you have questions on the grant.
We reached out to grant writers from the New York State, for this application. We understand what we need to do. I believe that we need a resolution. You guys giving me a resolution, that's great. You want to give me a letter of support, that's great. I don't care one way or the other at this point. I'm serious. I put a lot of effort into this. This continuous discussion.
It does
back and
appear to
forth,
require a resolution.
It's kind of a waste of our time at this point.
But time is really short for Rec Commission to actually make this happen. So if you're going to do it, we should do the. There's a bug.
I could tell.
If I hit it and kill
The
it.
letter of support.
I think I'm going to get hit. But if the board wants to do it, we should do it sooner rather than later to give them a fighting chance on their timeframes.
Right. So I'm sorry, if we do a resolution, the resolution wouldn't be voted on for 2 weeks, which means that they couldn't.
No, you'd have to do a
submit it.
special meeting.
We'd have to have a special.
You'd have to do a special meeting, yeah.
Okay.
Which would also accommodate what we have as well with Charlie and trying to figure out what's going on with the county.
Okay.
We'd have to do it the early part of next week sometime, because I believe the grant's application is due the 28th.
Is the, I'm sorry, Katie, is the rest of the application put together and it's just waiting for this, or? Oh.
Sorry, it's the microphone. Part of it, yes. Half of it, no.
Okay.
That's my answer.
But if we decide tonight that we're going to do we would have to do that in order for us to have a resolution to vote on, right? We would have to direct you to write a resolution.
Yeah, I think if the board just wants me to do the resolution, we'll do the resolution. We figure out a date, and then we notice the special meeting. And in the notice, it would be for the 2 purposes. It would be for the clarification from the county to pass these resolutions, so Charlie can get working on the lead and asbestos. And
Well, yeah, but I actually think there's a resolution that could for the vendors. I'm asking for the access agreement that you're working on, because that will need to be authorized by the board at a special meeting. Yes.
so both.
So is that what the board wants to do next
Yes.
week?
I suggest we do that because I think
I need a date. because I have to advertise it.
I'm going to be away for the next 10 days, so
Vicki?
I can't
I'm
help it.
away on the 24th, that's Monday. And Tuesday, I could do it Tuesday after work. I could do it Wednesday after work. I could not do it Thursday.
Brad? All I need is 3.
Yeah, I'll be there. Just name the day and time.
But
I'll be there, name the day and time.
it would,
We're good.
Name the time.
Name the day and time, I'll be there.
okay, is the 25th or 26th better for you?
It doesn't matter to me.
I would prefer the 26th, only because it would give me time to
That
actually
would give
talk to
you
the county on
time?
the 24th and
Okay, the
and
26th.
work with the attorney.
And what time,
any
Vicki?
agreement.
I don't want to make you...
5:30? Yeah,
Is that...
I can try.
Well, no, we don't, we'll just pick any time you can be there. I don't want
Town
you
board meeting. Okay, why don't we
racing
try
here
6
at
o'clock?
warp speed.
6 o'clock to 7? 6 to 7?
I'm not going to
6
be here.
o'clock?
Yeah, I can do that.
Is 6, Brad?
It's good.
Okay, 6 o'clock on the, we'll have a special meeting on July 26th at 6 o'clock. Then I'll advertise that.
They're throughout the entire building, not just for this.
That's Wednesday, the 26th at 6.
You and Mike can go in, and they're in there too.
Okay. Are there any other committee reports?
Yes.
I believe there's an enhancement.
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
And it's on a much lighter note. I'll just read the letter from the Enhancement Committee.
Sure.
We hope this letter finds you well. We are writing on behalf of the Enhancement Committee to propose a two-phase approach for the expansion and enhancement of the Wassake Raised Green Park. Our committee has met with the community and considered the needs of the community and believes that improving the Wassake Raised Green Park will greatly benefit our residents and the visitors alike. Now, we're planning on doing this in phases, and I'll start off with phase 1. Phase 1 of the proposal is on immediate improvements to the park based on the information gathered at the public meeting on June 28th, I think it was. There was a basic consensus on 2 things pertaining to the raised green park. The park should have 1, an evergreen tree, and 2, a bench dedicated to local veterans. This will take a bit of more time, as we will have to incorporate the design and the location of a bench within the final design of the green. The tree could likely be accomplished fairly quickly, perhaps in a month or 2, and with little to no expense. The Enhancement Committee is aware of 2 offers of donations for trees to the Green Park, a 6 to 7 foot, that's my place, 6 to 7 foot and burlapped Norwegian spruce tree, and a slower growing 8 to 10 foot Black Hills spruce tree. The planting of the trees should be done as soon as possible, as it will go far in settling the anxieties and the loss of the previous tree that the previous tree caused. We'd like the tree to be planted this fall to guarantee that it will be in place for the residents to celebrate the winter. Just want to add a note that there is no town board commitment at all by the town board to have the tree done or planted by September.
You mean we haven't discussed it?
There's no commitment by the town board.
Well, not without discussing it. We could
Exactly.
make a commitment.
It's
Oh, my Lord.
It's a donation, right?
Yeah. So anyway, moving on.
This is our suggestions after.
Microphone.
It's just a suggestion, okay? Yeah. It's
But don't
nothing.
shout out from the audience.
Yeah,
Go to
so
the microphone if you have something to say.
Let's move on. Phase 2 of the proposal advocates for the expansion of the raised green park up to the fencing of the Metro-North Railroad. This expansion will serve a multitude of purposes, including the elimination, what was that? Oh. includes the elimination of the current path used by cars to navigate around the green park. Additionally, it will provide more space for plantings and community activities, as well as address safety concerns in the hamlet of Wasaik. A number of community members have shown interest in participating in the design of the expansion of the green park. We have a talented and engaged community. We have talented and engaged community members that have a deep understanding of the downtown Wasaik that are willing to work together to create a community-driven redesign of the green park that considers all public space and pedestrian safety. The purpose of that, we proposed that on a Wednesday, September 6th, community members gather at a public meeting to brainstorm and collaborate on ideas and designs. Additionally, we propose the installation of a high-quality public bench in the raised green park honoring our veterans with a memorial plaque. Research has been done on the cost of the commercial municipalities bench for the park, with prices ranging anywhere from $600 to $1,000, not including the plaques or other signage. This meaningful addition will provide people in the Wasaik hamlet with a designated space to rest and play and pay tribute to the brave men and women who have served our community. We will speak public input into the wording of the memorial plaque. We will seek public. Okay. In addition to the expansion of the raised green park, we believe that there are other areas of improvement in Wasaik which may or may not be under the auspices of the Enhancement Committee that should be addressed. These include the organization of the current parking lot, to clearly designate the parking spaces for visitors, a clear crosswalk or path from the rail trail across the tracks into town, and addressing the speed in which cars move through the hamlet. We also recommend the relocation of the pole, the famous light pole that everybody's backed into at least once. We also recommend the relocation of the light pole and the parking area that poses a hazard to vehicles and has been a subject of multiple collisions. By addressing these issues, the overall safety and attractiveness of the downtown area will be improved and will provide a more welcoming environment for both residents and visitors. The proposed expansion of the Wasaik Raised Green Park and the revitalization of the downtown parking lot offer numerous benefits to our community. They will provide residents and visitors with an improved space to sit and contribute to the beautification of our town. Additionally, these enhancements will foster a greater sense of community pride and engagement. These are valuable investments in our community's future, and we are confident that this positive impact will be felt for generations to come. In terms of funding, we believe that these projects can be funded through a combination of government grants, public-private partnerships, and community fundraising. We respectfully seek the guidance and support of the town board to accomplish these goals. Thank you for your time and consideration. Margie O'Brien and Lauren Was, co-chairs, Enhancement Committee.
Since the two chairs of the committee are here, is there anything you want to add to that since you took the time to come?
And thank you, by the way.
Yes, it's just that we would like, permission right away to put the tree in, put a tree in the park.
Should the tree be planted in the fall?
Yeah, I think that we need to wait till
I think they have to be planted, in September, October? Which is you would know.
Is there a reason we can't just use a cut-down Christmas tree, the way everyone else in America seems to do, for this year, and then plant all the plantings at once that's figured out?
I think that there's a real consensus within the community that a tree is necessary. I think that's going to go a long way for them to feel the safety that place is not going away, even though I don't think anyone wants it to go away. But I think there's been a huge misunderstandings revolving this little space. And when those trees went away last year, it left a real ugly scar in our community. And I think that people were really hurt by this and really hurt to see their traditions upended. And so I think planting a tree in the fall so that it has, so it's not hot and it has plenty of water, and we're committed to keeping this tree alive. I think that that's going to go really far in the community to get people supporting hopefully a bigger project.
Okay, so there is someone who wants to donate a tree.
We have two donors.
Okay. Okay. Well, I believe the fall is the best time to plant the tree. And the other thing, that someone has to be committed to watering the tree every day. Because so that we can, make sure the roots are established well.
Yeah, I'm sure we could, between the members of the...
I'm still waiting for a contract to be sent to me from the company that's going to do the title search of the property.
Oh, it hasn't been done yet.
Well, the person who's doing it and was supposed to give me the contract was on vacation. She just got back. She's putting it together. I should have that. As soon as I have it, I'll sign it and send it in so we can get that process started.
Okay. I'm just curious how long that would take. Do you have any...
I have no idea.
I think that's more important in terms of funding, though, if we're looking for...
So then,
Yeah.
we know who owns what on the property.
But do you think that the tree is something that can happen regardless who owns it, since that's a donation?
Yes.
I think we can put that in.
Well, we would be replacing one that was already there.
Yes. And then the other part of our plan and our thoughts about this is really taking a look at that downtown Wassaic area and figuring out, since this space has really come up for play and it's really been questioned about what it is, and we've learned so much about the history of it, and how long it's been there and how valuable it is for the town members. We would really like to take a stab working with community members to draw up some sort of plans for what could happen.
Yeah, I was on vacation when you had the meeting, but if you're going to have successive meetings, for maybe someone who couldn't come the first time, so you could get a broad range of, what people would like to see. I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing for Wassaic.
Fabulous. So I think our suggestion was to have a meeting on September 6th, thank you,
September 6th.
which is a Wednesday. And
Where will you be having that? Here?
Probably
Uh-huh.
somewhere in the town hall, because it's easy access for everyone. And we really encourage people to bring their ideas. I'm hoping to have that we can have some big sheets of paper and start to visualize what that space could look like. So we'll advertise that on Facebook as well.
And what time would you'd have it?
Probably 7.
Around 7?
Yeah, 7 o'clock, yeah.
So that we can advertise it too for you.
Fabulous.
Thank you for arranging the meeting, which was great. I think you came a lot closer to consensus in that meeting than anyone would have believed, so you did a good job.
Thank you. So we'll start talking about the trees and maybe we can talk with the cooperative about the best tree
The
option.
Cooperative Extension, you have a contact there, right?
Stephanie Radin has retired, but they have a Master Gardeners program. I'm sure they can recommend
Yeah, with the two
somebody
trees
within
that we
that
have.
would know.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that, from what I understand, the Norwegian spruce grows too fast, grows very quickly, and likely to have some issues. So I think a slower growing tree would be the best way.
Well, you've got plenty of time to decide what kind of tree. So you can do your research and see, what will work best in that particular space.
Yeah, but we hope to get it in the ground in September, so.
You might try the Amenia Garden Club too if you don't get an immediate response, because they're
Oh,
professional
Andy. Yeah.
garden
Andy Durbridge.
designers or landscape designers in that.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just real quick, I know you want to have a meeting here. Just be sure to send an email so we can clear a space for you.
It doesn't have to be this room either.
So some of the rooms, and there's other meetings that I've already committed, specifically, I'm already thinking ahead.
Yeah, Dawn keeps the calendar, so.
And the main reason why is I know there's someone watching this evening that has already called to find out if you guys were going to be on the agenda, having just the Wasake Park, if it was going to be on there. And since it wasn't a specific agenda item, we were able to advise the individual that there are committee reports, because I'd gotten, some emails seeing that there was a potential chance. So as soon as you guys know you're going to definitely hold that meeting, just send us the notice. I know Facebook is a great place for many of us to see what's going on community-wide, but since you are a town committee, we want to make sure we get those that are kind of following this program. So, but everybody heard it here first, September 6th, right at 7 o'clock, Amenia Town Hall.
Do you know that this room is free?
I'm pretty sure your liaison is going to also reach out to me to confirm that. That way he can let you in and have it all set.
Thank you.
I think he's typing it in his phone now.
I am.
I guess.
Are there any other board or committee reports?
I have, the CAC met last night, and we went over the Troutbeck. Phase 1 has been issued its site plan and special use permit. We talked about the Silo Ridge Keenstud proposed development, and we talked about the CSC, CEC.
The what?
Community smart, we're a climate smart community.
Oh, yeah, that, okay.
And we're also a clean energy community. So we have 2 different programs that the town's climate smart task force, that's headed by me, Stacy, and Michael Peak, Stacy Mantle. And the 3 of us are working with the climate smart task force volunteers to conduct, we finished, believe it or not, our clean energy inventory. So thanks to all who helped us provide data to our interns, Hannah and Julia, and we managed to get it done, and we got notice on a separate, so that's very exciting, because the next step, well, the interesting thing is, actually, from that greenhouse inventory, we saw the results of that on Tuesday at the Farm and Home Center. There were 3 communities that were presenting: Town of Amenia, Pleasant Valley, and Poughkeepsie. And ours was unbelievable that 82% of our emissions is coming from the landfill, the old Amenia landfill. Wow. And that has only been in operation from 1940 to 1970. It blew away the interns who were inputting the data, gathering the information from the DEC sites. They monitor our landfill. And as you can see, the little candy cane pipes, there's methane and other greenhouse gases that are coming from a landfill. Millerton had a similar thing where it just skewed the whole picture, and it's kind of overwhelming to see that 82% of our emissions are coming from something where we cannot do anything about it. We have capped it. We've done all the responsible things we can. I informed the rest of the people who were there that not just the town of Amenia was contributing to that, but it's the town of Sharon, so their per capita, it looked like we were just really throwing away a lot of stuff, but it's not. We had contractors, we had Curtis Wright, we had all kinds of IBM, commercial entities dumping the PCBs and other things that didn't come just from our residents. So what we did was take out the 82%, and then you get a pie chart that is much more reasonable. So because we can't do anything about it, it looks overwhelming. But if you look at the rest of the pie chart without that, you see that the second highest is our town hall and our town facilities. The water operator emits some, the town highway garage emits some. So the buildings are our second biggest thing that we can do something about. And we did just get a $5,000 grant, really thanks to Stacy Mantle. If you see her, thank her, because she conducted tirelessly a campaign to sign up 10 people, which she did, for the solar farm, let's see, community solar farms. So you not only get a discount on your energy purchases from NYSEG at 10% of that, you also help the town raise money for projects. And we're going to do an energy audit of the town hall. That was Victoria's suggestion for the last $5,000 grant they got. We just got another $5,000 grant. And it was through the NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities Program, and the next step is deciding what clean energy project you would like to use the funds to implement. And like I said, we already know where the emissions are. A lot of our emissions are coming from buildings. So obviously we can do the energy audit, but we can also, what they suggest is for this grant, LED streetlight conversion, we've already done that. Upgrades at the municipal facilities, we've already done that. We've got LED. Holiday LED lighting, energy efficient upgrades at the municipal facilities, heat pump installation, HVAC upgrades, we already did that. $1 million, fabulous. But our fuel oil is high, so I suggest, it's just something that I think that is low-hanging fruit, is that we should, thanks to Victoria Perotti, she got a $50,000 SAM grant from our former state senator. I'm blanking.
Sue Serino?
Sue Serino. She gave us $50,000 to do double pane windows on the first floor. We could only do the first floor. The second floor seems to me the next low-hanging fruit. And our little $5,000 could contribute to that, but we could also ask Michelle Hinchy. She's going to be at the town of Washington Park on the 30th of July, and I plan to attack her and ask her for the town of Amenia to do at least what Sue Serino did for us.
Attack her gently.
But we have a project that could be, I think, really help with our energy consumption here. If people have better ideas for $5,000 to kind of spring forward on some of these goals, food waste and composting initiative, just getting the information out that by composting you will reduce greenhouse gases in landfills tremendously. So that small act each one of us can do. It doesn't cost us anything. You can do it in your backyard, that kind of thing. So the other thing that I wanted to mention is that they're moving ahead. We did a repair cafe that was very exciting, and we want to try and do that again. We're looking at October 14th as a possibility here in the gym. It would be kind of a harvest, I think they're calling it a farm harvest, so people could sell their excess veggies and such, and also do the repair cafe lamps. We can do repair lamps. We've got a sewing machine person and a knife sharpener, and there's about 4 people already lined up to do all kinds of odds and ends. So put that on your calendar, or just know that in October we're looking to do that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Pat Nelligan, Water District Committee, Secretary. I feel like I've aged 6 months. We had a meeting on July 11th, and we had our first citizen attendee. Thank you for attending. Pass those around. It was comforting to know at least someone was paying attention. Last month, we submitted our first recommendation to the board. That didn't seem to go very well. We haven't heard much back, except from Damien, who thought it was a good idea. But there's some developments that have happened since then that have led us to make a further recommendation on projects you're working on that other people may or may not know about. And I made the mistake last month of not reading it, because I should have. Might have gotten more attention. This is recommendation number 2, Town Board Resolution 52-2023, EPA recommended lead and copper line survey. Background. On March 30th, 2023, SCBI, the Water Operators Company, submitted 3 separate proposals to the supervisor for 3 projects related to the Water District, totaling between $550,000 and $600,000. And this is off topic. I find it ironic you're arguing about $5,000 of over here, whether you need to put it out for bids. There's never any never any discussion hardly about putting the two most expensive projects out to bid on this. That's just ironic. So, immediately the supervisor and prior to public meeting or board discussion presented all three proposals to the town board on April 6th, a week later, in the form of an immediate actionable resolution, number 51, 52, and 53. Only the least expensive proposal, resolution number 5123, to refurbish well number 5 to increase its volume, included a provision for putting the projects out to public bid. And the town board, while unanimously approving the $69,000 plus project, resolution 53, 2023, to test wells on the Sims Depot Hill property, I know we're not supposed to say that, but that's where it is, as possible future water sources for the water district without insisting upon open bidding for such an expensive project. While fortunately the town board tabled resolution 52 2023, which was a $481,000 plus proposal, again from SEBI, for the EPA lead and copper line survey, as it was unclear where the funds would come from for the project. Undaunted, the supervisor continued to place the same resolution on every meeting's agenda during the months of April and May, until at some point the town board determined that the $481,000 proposal was not fundable, not fully fundable at the time, anyway. As a result, at the July 6, 2023 meeting, unbeknownst to me and anybody on the committee, the workshop meeting, the water district operator addressed the town board questioning where they were on his amended $250,000 plus proposal, apparently submitted earlier, but we never heard about it, seemingly attempting to impress upon the board the urgency of the matter. That's the background. Based on the newly acquired knowledge that a significantly amended proposal has been submitted to the town board after the reconstitution of the Amenia Water District Committee, and in order to comply with the requirements of Local Code Chapter 119, which this board approved, for the Water District Committee's review and recommendation prior to board action, and questioning how a project can cost $481,000 to begin with, can now magically be done for nearly half the money. The Water District Committee unanimously recommends the following. Immediately instruct the town clerk to provide the Water District Committee with copies of both SEBI proposals for this project for immediate review. If the board feels there is some time pressure, it should immediately instruct the town clerk, not the water operator, to put the specifications outlined in the second proposal out for competitive bids, as it should have been done in the original proposal, with SEBI, of course, cordially invited to compete, but not get it automatically. If the town board wishes to proceed with the project, only grant monies set aside in the $15 billion federal fund for this EPA recommended project, and I say recommended because that's what it is, be considered, only those funds be considered, as while it may be a desirable action that the board would take, it is not mandated. Everybody thinks we have to do this. It's not mandated that the survey be done at all. The federal government really doesn't mandate much. They just dangle huge amounts of money out there and say, here's a pool of money, come after it, and get these things done. It doesn't work. Anyway, it was approved unanimously that we think you ought to keep those things in mind and try to think about competitive bidding for projects that cost nearly $500,000 or $40 million. Seems reasonable to us. It was approved unanimously by the committee on July 11th. Again, anybody out there who wants to help the committee out, we could use the help. And come to some meetings. It's interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other board or committee reports? If not, we'll go to our resolutions.
83.
83. Awarding bid for the extension of the Route 44 sidewalk project. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia previously authorized LaBella Associates to prepare bids and specification for the extension of Route 44 sidewalk project in the Town of Amenia. Whereas 2 bids were received on June 7, 2023, and whereas by letter dated June 13, 2023, LaBella recommended that the bids be rejected due to missing information and other irregularities. Whereas the Town Board by Resolution Number 73 of 2023 rejected all bids and authorized LaBella to solicit new bids. Whereas bids were duly advertised and solicited for the work to be conducted, and 3 bids were received, opened and read aloud by the Town Clerk on July 12, 2023. Whereas the following bids were received: Raja Contractors Incorporated, $197,050. Contact Construction Technology Incorporated, $208,500. B&K Excavations Incorporated, $257,450. Whereas by letter dated July 14, 2023, LaBella advised that the lowest responsible bidder was Raja Contractors Incorporated and recommends that the Town Board award the contract to Raja Contractors Incorporated in the amount of $197,050, all as set forth in the aforementioned recommendation, a letter copy of which is annexed hereto and made a part hereof. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as it fully set forth and adopted herein. The Town of Amenia hereby awards a contract for the extension of Route 44 sidewalk project to Raja Contractors Incorporated in the amount of $197,050. In accordance with the authorized bid specifications, the Town Board hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute the contract documents as prepared by the engineers to the town, including the notice of award, a notice to proceed, and forward a copy to Raja Contractors Incorporated after the attorney to the town has confirmed that Raja Contractors Incorporated has duly executed the contract documents, has supplied the necessary performance bond, labor and materials payment bond, and provided insurance certificates as required by the bid specifications. Funding for this project shall be paid from engineer's budget line number 1444.01. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Yeah.
And I'll second, because I have a question. Victoria, was there, I seem to remember that there was a community development block grant award for this project?
Yeah, that's what it is.
But was that a specific, what was the amount of that? Is it actually more than this, or?
Okay, actually, what happened is that we did a ADA sidewalk grant to repair the sidewalk in front of the post office, but we did not use all the funds that we were allotted.
I see, okay.
And we had been given a Route 44 sidewalk extension grant for $150,000, so I requested that we, from Dutchess County Planning, that we be given the amount of the grant that we didn't use for the sidewalk project, and the county executive approved that. So we ended up with a total grant of $165,904.24.
Great.
We have used $26,487 of reimbursed engineering fees, so we have $139,417.24. And we have additional money in the budget to cover the difference.
Thank you.
Supervisor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Bachman?
Yes.
Revelard?
Yes.
Okay. The next resolution is the one authorizing the town engineer. What do you want to do with that one?
I have some alternate resolutions that we could substitute if people were interested in doing that.
I don't think we're ready to do other resolutions right now until...
Well, shouldn't we discuss that or vote on that rather than
Sure, we can
deciding?
discuss it.
Okay. Why don't I pass them out so people can look at them first? The first one is a resolution to hire the 3 consultants to do the risk assessments, and the other is to you and could have just passed them down, couldn't
Yeah.
I? Oh, well. And the other one is for transferring funds from the Workforce Housing Trust Fund for that work. Here's the other one. Thank you. So I had sent these to Ian. I'm not sure he had a chance to look at them.
I might have it by
But
email.
it allows us to do what we could do now. Do you want another copy? There's more here. I'm sorry. I should have given it to you. I have more copies.
We can share.
It's all right.
We always share.
All right, if you want.
But she needs one.
Oh.
Well, I'd see your draft resolutions for tonight. I think I've got it by, yeah, I've got it.
She even.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, but I can give you a printed copy since I already did that, Vicki.
Okay, thanks.
So one of these resolutions is to approve hiring the professionals to do the risk assessment that the board had wanted them to do. And the total cost of that was, sorry, $3,365 to hire the licensed inspectors to do that work. So the first is to approve hiring them to do the work we've discussed. And I guess we should start with that one.
Well, I don't think, is it a proper resolution, Ian?
Well, the resolution with all the, with the lead and asbestos, that would be part of what we're going to do, I thought,
At the special meeting?
special meeting. So my recommendation, if we're doing that, then we should do them at the special meeting once we get guidance from the county.
Yeah, well, I think the board can decide whether they feel there's any risk there that they're going to find anything new from the county, right, is what you're saying?
It's the board's decision.
Yes.
To proceed.
Okay, well, I'd move this resolution because I think that we should have this in hand, so when we do get the
Is there
information-
anything lacking in the resolution?
And other than we don't have clear guidance from the county, this is just approving those.
Yeah, I know,
those
but I'm
two
talking
items.
about
the other
wording.
The rate on these values are I think below they're within our procurement policy limits, so I'm not.
I'm talking about the language in the resolution itself. Is
No.
it appropriate or not?
Victoria forgets my time at Harvard Law.
I'm comfortable with the language. It tells us where it's going to be paid out of appropriate.
Well, I'm more
housing.
interested in what the town attorney says.
I mean, technically, they weren't, they're not on the agenda, technically, so it'd be better if they were on an agenda. If the town wants to proceed, they certainly can. But as far as the wording I think it's sufficient.
So the agenda had a resolution to pay the town engineer $4,000 to put together an RFQ, and we've found from the various vendors that were spoken to that it costs significantly less money to actually have the work done than it does to hire the engineer to put this package together. And we are lucky to have two licensed real estate brokers that are involved in this, and so I would like to move that we accept this resolution.
You need to read it.
Oh, I need to read it, I'm sorry. Thank you, Vicki. Resolution approving the hiring of Paradigm Environmental Services, Inspector Real Estate, and Bill Baldwin and Sons, Inc. for the purposes of performing lead-based paint, asbestos, radon gas, wood pest, and septic system risk assessments in connection with the prospective purchase of a particular property for workforce housing. Whereas the town of Amenia is seeking to hire professionals to perform lead-based paint, asbestos, radon gas, wood pest, and septic system risk assessments on a particular house, the property, in the town of Amenia to be used for workforce housing. And whereas pursuant to the town's procurement policy, the town board of the town of Amenia obtained quotes from lead-based paint, asbestos, radon gas, wood pest, and septic system risk assessment professionals. And whereas the following quotes were received: lead and asbestos geo-environmental, $4,140. Lead and asbestos Paradigm Environmental Services, $2,600, which is thus the lower bid of those two. Radon gas and wood pest from Inspect Your Real Estate, a $220 bid. And for the septic system, there are 3 bids: Herring Sanitation Service at $1,135, Pro Septic at $625, and Bill Baldwin and Sons, Inc. at $595, so that's the lowest bid there. Whereas it has been determined that Paradigm Environmental Services is the lowest responsible bidder for conducting the lead-based paint and asbestos risk assessment, Inspect Your Real Estate is the lowest responsible bidder for conducting the radon gas and wood pest risk assessment, and Bill Baldwin and Sons, Inc. is the lowest responsible bidder for conducting the septic risk assessment. Now, therefore, it be resolved as follows. The recitations set forth or incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted therein. 2, that the town board hereby approves the proposal from Paradigm Environmental Services to conduct the lead-based paint and asbestos risk assessment, Inspect Your Real Estate to conduct the radon gas and wood pest risk assessment, and Bill Baldwin and Sons, Inc. to conduct the septic system risk assessment. 3, the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute a contract for the services described herein and any other documentation necessary to effectuate this resolution upon review by the attorney to the town. 4, the town board hereby authorizes payment of said services to be paid from the planning housing budget line number 1.080204.01.15800. And I'll make that motion.
I'll second. I have a question. We are looking at a special meeting. Should this make reference to the special meeting in this resolution as it relates to it?
Nobody asked.
I'm sorry, should this special?
No.
No? No?
Well, we don't have clarification from the county yet.
Right.
Okay. I guess we're taking a vote, Don Marie.
Ian?
He asked the question.
Oh, I said, since we had a proposal and a second, I assume we're taking a vote?
You have,
I second.
And he seconded.
And I had a...
And he's bringing in discussion, okay.
Well, you mentioned a discussion item.
Well,
He's
your
meant
question actually should be to Ian.
Because we have a coming up special meeting on the subject, I mean, should we make that into the, incorporate it in the resolution in any way?
So there was a discussion about a special meeting based upon a number of issues. One of those issues is that we have conflicting information from the county. It was my recommendation to this board that with the conflicting information from the county, that I would reserve on these resolutions. If the board wants to proceed, they can proceed against my advice. They're not bound by my advice on that.
Should we consider modifying the resolution in any way, shape, or form to include that?
Well, Leo's looking to have it passed, so if it's either you're going to pass it or you're not.
You could pass it with condition that the planning board okays the
That the form of these inspections is approved.
But it's not even to do with their part of their grant.
Well, that's not true.
This is for the towns.
That's not
Yeah,
true.
I know the lead and
The
asbestos,
lead, the
but
asbestos, and the septic are all part of the HQS, all of it. And Vicki, you're the one who actually, because initially I didn't think we would have to comply with those with the requirements based on my initial reading of the The letter from the county. But then after further review and the communications that were had that I was not privy to with Audra had wrote that email, and I think that email specifically states that the lead asbestos risk assessment must comply. So to me, that's a conflicting, a clear conflict of what we're about to do.
I'm sorry, comply with what in that case? Ian, comply with the format that the county requires, or?
Well,
I
John
have to
Andrews
find
also
the
said the same thing.
I have to find the email.
And Brad seemed to think that all of these inspectors have to be licensed by the state, so they would be aware of the conditions of the format for which they need to provide this information. It is buggy in here.
Did you get them?
Yeah, I got them.
I think this all goes back to what Ian is saying. You're not wrong in what you're saying, but it all goes back to what Ian is saying about this
I mean,
conflict.
Vic, you forwarded the email to me. I don't know if you have
The
it.
email, yes, I certainly have it.
'Cause I can't seem to
Or we
find
could
it.
table it till Wednesday and then vote on it then. Then we'd have
Yeah.
a opinion from the county, and it would be clear that we're proceeding in the correct way.
I think since we already made a motion and seconded, we have no choice but to take a vote. But if we could clarify this information from Audra before taking that vote, I'd be very happy to do
Don't know
that.
why all of a sudden I cannot find this.
Makes more sense.
Well, we could table it to the 26th.
I heard you the first time, and thank you.
Let me just interject one thing here. My experience has been with working with the county is that a lot of times their response has to do with the way in which you ask a question. And you have to come to the table understanding what the parameters are. So I would hope that, Ian, when you speak with Audrey or her boss, who's going to call you, that it would be listing out that we have, provided these vendors with all of the work that has to be done. They have given us a quote that is underneath the procurement guidelines of the county, and they are producing a report that will match the guidelines that the county requires.
My
You know what I mean?
specific question to the county is, you've sent one email this way and another email this way. Please clarify.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that it lets them interpret, and this is what happens in government. The same thing is like they would say that this is, in an email they said, all the work needs to be prevailing wage. Well, that is incorrect because this is a project of less than 6 units. It's exempt from that. So that's what I'm saying, because my fear is that you're going to go to the county and they're going to give you the tightest response they possibly can. But we're a small,
If the
poor
board wants to
community.
designate someone else to clarify it,
That's fine. Maybe Brad, since Brad's already had a conversation with Audrey.
Charlie doesn't trust me to represent the best interests of this town, I find that a little offensive. I'm sorry, Charlie.
I didn't have that
Charlie, could you
conversation.
please sit down? It's not appropriate for you to be
I'm
speaking.
sorry,
out loud.
Ian. I also
only
will
looking
back
after-
up Charlie is done a lot of work on this. He is a real
he's done
estate
amazing work.
person.
Absolutely. That's
I will
not my
read
point.
the Audra email, but I think you are, I'm sorry, Ian. There are times when I just disagree, and I will politely disagree. I am not a trained lawyer, but I have seen obstruction after obstruction after obstruction, and it is very expensive. You're sitting here at $200 an hour, and you get paid to do resolutions. When we can do resolutions, we can do it ourselves. We can follow the format. It's been done properly. We've done our homework. We've talked to John Andrews. We've asked Audra. Audra is for some reason being very, I'm sorry, I don't believe that, you have said it's our opinion to go ahead and go forward. We need a sewer system in the town of Amenia. And I cannot believe it is just, we've just been met with all kinds of stonewalling, all kinds of accusations that we've done something illegal. Let's just get it done. It's the first time in 60 years that the town has come even close to doing something with its septic problem in the downtown Amenia district. It is a parcel that is within that's within our budget. That's something we can do without breaking the bank. And now all I see is obstruction after obstruction after obstruction. And I think at some point the town people have to say, it's time to move on. It's time. We can just think and worry and twist in the wind. This meets our procurement policy. It meets the county procurement policy. It's something that the town needs to do. It's for $5,000. I mean, it's $5,000. And I'm guessing you're not going to have anything back from the from the lawyer in 3 or 4 days. It's going to go on and on and on. There's going to be more and more reasons why we just can't get the job done.
Vicki, it's actually $3,300, but I think you asked about Audra. I think Audra is new in that job, and that may be some of her consciousness.
No, I think she is taking the cue from the top, and that is the problem with the wastewater. The wastewater has not moved forward because the leadership at the town is not there. And that's what Candace Ballmer said to me. I pleaded with her to come back as a technical assistant for the town wastewater committee. And she said, no, until the leadership changes at the town hall, I'm not going to invest more free technical assistance. After 25 years, the leadership isn't there, and I think we need to change that. If we have 3 town board members who are willing to move this forward, we should just move this forward, and we should call the vote and stop worrying about $3,000.
Well, I think we already...
What we're looking at is procedures, and you're the one that asked John Andrews.
I will vote yes if we're going to move to a vote.
Well, that's the question. Do we table it until we get the information
We have a
clarified?
motion on the...
Or do we vote?
We can vote to table.
There is a
Well, you already
motion
seconded it.
pending
We
that
can't
is...
vote on this, Victoria.
Correct.
Even
Right, so we can vote to table, is what Victoria said. Or we can,
It isn't like it's going away.
I think we should take the vote because we have it was proposed and it was seconded. I don't think we really have a choice in that matter now.
Correct.
I have to call the roll.
Correct.
Yes.
For this resolution, the way it was read aloud by Councilman, I'm sorry. I'm just
That's
looking at
her. I can't remember sometimes.
Okay. Supervisor Prodi?
No.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Rabelard?
yes.
So now, sadly, there's a second resolution to read.
Sadly, yes.
What?
Sadly, yes.
Yes, sadly, yes. Except now, just shuffle it. Oh, okay, here it is. Okay, this second resolution is for a resolution authorizing transfer of funds from the Workforce Housing Trust Fund to pay for the lead-based paint, asbestos, radon gas, wood pest, and septic system risk assessments in connection with the prospective purchase of a particular property for workforce housing. Whereas on or about December 9th, 2022, the town of Amenia submitted an application for a community development block grant to Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for a $150,000 grant to acquire a parcel of land, the property in the town of Amenia, to be used for workforce housing. And whereas in a letter dated April 26, 2023, the DCDP contingently awarded the town a $150,000 grant, and whereas a contingency of the DCDPD is that the town is required to perform a lead-based paint, asbestos, and septic system risk assessment on the property, and whereas the town board would like to conduct radon gas and wood pest risk assessments of the property, and whereas pursuant to the Town Code Section 121-42N2B, the Workforce Housing Trust Fund, quote, shall be used exclusively to provide for the acquisition, purchase, planning, development, construction, improvement, rehabilitation, sale or resale, rental, subsidy, support, or other legal means of creating or supporting more workforce housing. And whereas the town board desires to transfer $3,365 from the Workforce Housing Trust Fund to the Planning Housing Budget line number 1.080204.01.158.00 to pay for the lead-based paint, asbestos, radon gas, wood pest, and septic system risk assessments. Whereas professional services are exempt from the bidding requirements under General Municipal Law, Section 103, now therefore it be resolved as follows. The recitation set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted therein. 2, that the Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby determines the lead-based paint, asbestos, radon gas, wood pest, and septic system risk assessments to be performed are furtherance of the workforce housing goals of the town. 3, the Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes and directs the transfer of $3,365 from the Workforce Housing Trust Fund to the Planning Housing Budget line, number 1.00204.01.158.00, to pay for the lead-based paint, asbestos, radon gas, wood pest, and septic system risk assessments. I'll make that motion.
Second.
There is a provision that should be added to that resolution. It's a requirement under your code that any transfer it has to indicate that any transfer that the town board makes from this fund was in consultation with the Workforce Housing Board and determined by both boards to be in furtherance of the workforce housing goals of the town as set forth in section 121-42.
They had a meeting just before this, and I thought that was discussed. I mean, I thought there was a vote taken. There was a vote taken.
It just needs to be in.
Oh, I see.
I'm not.
No.
I'm just advising the board because I'm now being painted as somebody being obstructionist.
How about the
and that's
town
really
board
not
of the
fair.
town
I'm
of
advising
Amenia
to divest
and
the
the
board of
housing
town.
board hereby authorizes and directs the transfer since, as per a meeting on the date of, it is this date. We did it all on the same date.
I would add a resolve paragraph that states the town board, comma, after consultation with the housing board, comma, has determined that such transfer shall be in furtherance of the workforce housing goals of the town as set forth in section 121-42.
I'm sorry, 121 what?
-42.
Thank you. Great. Then I would suggest, I move this resolution with that change. Thank you, Ian, for that.
You're welcome.
I'll second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revelard?
Yes.
Okay. I think there are more resolutions.
Can I request that they're emailed to me this evening?
That,
They're
I can
emailed.
forward them to you right
That would
now.
be amazing. Just
Oh.
because I'm out of town,
whoa,
I
I'm
needed to
sorry,
do
I
them
didn't
in
understand
the
what you were
morning,
asking
so
me.
they can go on the
Yeah, that's
website.
fine.
Ian, what should we, how should we proceed with the authorizing town engineer? Should we vote on it, or?
You can just do,
Or just
no,
table
just do a
it?
motion to pull it.
What?
Just pull it from the agenda. It's a motion to pull it from the agenda, and it gets pulled from the agenda.
Okay, make a motion to pull the resolution authorizing the town engineer to provide RFQ for lead and asbestos risk assessments per Dutchess County planning requirements from the agenda.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revelard?
Yes.
What resolution are we up to?
86.
Authorizing Habit for Humanity of Dutchess County Incorporated to conduct soil testing and the execution of a hold harmless and indemnification agreement. Whereas the town of Amenia is the owner of a parcel located on Depot Hill Road in the town of Amenia and further identified as tax parcel number 716714297367. Whereas Habitat for Humanity of Dutchess County is seeking to purchase the premises from the town to construct affordable housing. Whereas a purchaser is seeking to perform soil testing to determine if the premise is suitable for the construction of a single-family residence prior to purchasing the premises from the town. Whereas the town is willing to authorize the aforementioned testing upon the purchaser executing a hold harmless and indemnification agreement, providing the necessary certificates of insurance to the satisfactory of the attorney to the town. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as it fully set forth and adopted herein. The town board hereby authorizes Habitat for Humanity of Dutchess County Incorporated to perform soil testing on a parcel of land owned by the town of Amenia as described above. The town board hereby further authorizes the town supervisor to execute a hold harmless and indemnification agreement with Habitat for Humanity of Dutchess County Incorporated in substantially the same form as attached hereto.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revelard?
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 87, transfer of funds for July 2023. Whereas the town board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary or unanticipated to amend the budget. Whereas a budget amendment in the general fund increasing revenue line 2260.01 public safety services by $1,054.68 and increasing expense line 31204.01 public safety commercial services by $1,054.68 for Dutchess County Sheriff Services for Congregation Beth David. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 71104.01 Amenia Park CE by $3,000 and decreasing expense line 71454.01 Intercommunity Rec CE by $3,000 for Amenia Park supplies. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 71104.01 Amenia Park CE by $4,000 and decreasing expense line 71454.01.031 Intercommunity Rec CE Transportation by $4,000 for landscape architect. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 71104.01 Amenia Park CE by $1,000 and decreasing expense line 71454.01.030 Intercommunity Rec CE trips by $1,000 for unanticipated expenses. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing revenue line 72705.01 gifts and donations by $500 and increasing expense line 72704.01 band concert CE summer music concert by $500 for Troutbeck donation. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 90608.01 medical insurance town by $15,979.67, decreasing expense line 70201.01 Recreation Administration PS by $7,500, and decreasing expense line 19004.01.049 Special Items Contingency by $8,479.67 for additional medical insurance premiums for new employee. Whereas budget amendment, the general fund increasing expense line 11104.01.072 Justices CE Interpreters by $1,000 and decreasing expense line 11104.01.076 Justices CE Technicals by $1,000 for unanticipated costs. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 16204.01.126 Building CE Vintage Light by $200 and decreasing expense line 1904.01.049 Special Items Contingency by $200 for unanticipated costs. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 13804.01 fiscal agent fees by $1,200, and decreasing expense line 19004.01.049 special item CE contingencies by $1,200 for administrative fee for New York State EFC bond. Whereas budget amendment, the general fund increasing expense line 35102.01 dog control equipment by $99.74, decreasing expense line 35104.01.042 dog control CE board strays by $99.74 for unanticipated expense. Whereas budget amendment in the highway fund, increasing revenue line 2705.03, gifts and donations highway by $277,000, and increasing expense line 51104.03.200, general repair CE Tower Hill by $277,000 for paving Tower Hill Road highway donation. Whereas budget amendment in the water fund, increasing expense line 83404.06, transmission distribution CE by $25,000, and decreasing 99509.06 capital reserve fund by $25,000 for Cloverick well drilling and testing and SCBI voucher. Whereas budget amendment in the water fund, increasing expense line 83104.06 administration CE by $744, decreasing expense line 8310.06.128 administration CE software by $744 for unanticipated expense. Whereas budget amendment, increasing revenue line 19304.06 judgments and claims water by $4,996, and decreasing expense line 83404.06 transmission distribution by $4,996 for settlement of water district claim. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board authorizes a transfer of necessary budget line to process the transactions. And I make that motion.
I'll second.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
And do we have any other matters?
Two things. No, just two. Yeah, two things. I sent around a sketch for signage for the town parking lot, and I wanted to see if anyone had any thoughts on that. I don't know who we want to be responsible for paying for that, but I do think that we need a clearer identification of how the lot is used. Because we did make an agreement and we don't have any.
Well, the agreement included that Silo Ridge paying for the striping.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. So the signage, I assume, would not be paid for by them, but would have to come out of, but I mostly am proposing this so that we can move ahead with the striping if we know what we're going to do to identify the lot. It doesn't have to be done now. There's nothing in the budget for it.
What is the primary reason that Silo Ridge has not gone forward with the striping?
I have no idea.
I think they just waited, we're waiting for the town board to make a decision.
Correct.
To allow them to go ahead with the striping?
To deal with.
Plan. They're waiting for a final plan. And there's been back and forth with the town, and Leo's picked this up and run with it and got it back going again because it starts
So
and
can
then
we
dies.
just do a motion to present Leo's plan to them?
Yeah, as long as the board agrees, then we have marching orders.
Everybody
I
on
think
board?
we've all reviewed it in an email, so I think we should.
Okay.
But we're not asking them to pay for the construction of this sign. We're just asking them to proceed with the striping, right?
Well, whatever is, whatever they agreed to in the license agreement.
Okay.
Which would be the striping.
Okay.
So I make a motion to send Councilman Blackman's plan for the parking lot to Silo Ridge.
I just want to check, Victoria. I think that Stoneleaf actually sent us a revised drawing, and then there was a conversation about how we were going to direct people where to park. I think that was where we got
I
stopped.
thought your last emails, when you circulated these, Leo, said that you were going to circulate a sketch of the parking lot with the actual plan.
Yeah.
I didn't get that, so
Oh.
I don't
Sorry.
have that, but
Okay.
whatever it is.
Can we just move forward with that?
In other words, I think we can move forward with the striping. I think the last drawing, all I'm saying is I don't think the last drawing was from me. I think the last drawing was from them, but we had wanted to resolve what signage we were doing before letting them start with the parking.
Signage and the tag versus sticker issue.
Right, and the sign, the large sign is intended to replace those issues which they objected to.
There was some agreement, if I recall, with regards to them having, I think, signs for the designated spaces, and they had circulated some drawings.
They did. I think that the only issue there was the height of those signs and whether it should actually say stone leaf or whether stone leaf graphic was sufficient, and I would assume a lower sign and a stone leaf graphic.
So basically, the ball is in our court, and so we need to send what Leo has put together to them?
Well, I have from Leo the proposed signage for the entranceway. This is an entranceway sign, right, to be out
Right,
front.
Well, that's something we would do.
Right, but we're not asking them to build.
We're not, no, that wouldn't go to them.
So all we have to do is, I mean, I didn't go back to their last striping diagram. I'm assuming that that's basically what we're asking them to go ahead with, but I haven't seen it in a long time, so
Yeah, so my recommendation to the board would be to take a look at the last design with regards to the parking lot striping, as well as the last proposal for the signage for the 11 spaces, and they had a rear view mirror hanger that they had proposed that cars that would be parking in those
yes, that's
spaces
true.
would have.
That's where we got stuck, so we
That's
would
where,
need to.
yes, correct.
Okay.
So that was their last email to us, which the board has not.
Would you like me to just go through that and mark it up and then distribute it to the other board members? I mean, what's easiest for you
Yeah,
all?
why don't you just go ahead and do that?
Okay, thank you.
Then we'll get some clarity and we can get this done eventually.
The other thing was the Recreation Committee's request they were asking for resolution now to be voted on at the next meeting. The only thing I wanted to ask about that is, it seemed to me, I mean, I was not entirely convinced, and I think the two of you also raised this, that the parking plan seemed not as critical as the recreation pieces at the Amenia Green. And I wonder if we can what they're looking for is an engineer, a landscape architect to draw it up so they can then get prices or know how much the pieces are going to cost. That was my understanding. And if that's the case and the board doesn't feel that the parking should be included in that, I would imagine that we could say that in our letter. So I just wanted to see how people felt. I mean, we can also just give them a go-ahead, but I wasn't sure that we wanted the engineer to be drawing that up, because I don't really see that being a huge priority for the town board.
I don't think we should use recreation funds for extending the parking areas. I think that's a town hall and general fund and overall plan that we need to deal with, unless there's code violations and access to I know there's not great handicapped access, but that's sidewalks and stuff. It's not parking.
Right. But it also seemed like most of the parking stuff could be just done by redirecting people rather than having to, I mean, I've never seen that lot, even with all the stone leaf parking, I've never seen that lot completely full. So, I mean, it seems to me that parking is not the greatest of our issues, although perhaps with the concert series, there are a lot more cars to be parked than there were before, but people seem to be accommodated on 343.
I think recreation has a lot of other fish to fry, and parking spaces shouldn't, you can use a lot of money up on that. I think they should focus their efforts on getting the overall plan. I mean, that's just me. I'd see that they need slides and swings and things like that, and the town should create enough parking to make that work.
Victoria, do you agree that the parking should be pulled out, or do you have another view
The
on
what?
that? The parking from the rec, in other words, when they hire an engineer for Amenia Green, I'm wondering whether, I mean, I'm thinking that the parking should not be something that the engineer spends time on, since that's...
I wouldn't think so, no.
Okay. Brian?
Well, I don't know. The project, in my memory, is going through phases, and there was a lot of things proposed within the project, and parking was one of them. So I think without having the rec committee here right now to clarify that in my mind, I can't really make a judgment.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think it's worth giving them, I think that giving them the town board's approval to take a next step, since the grant that they want to apply for is so soon, seems to me like a good idea. But I also, we don't know what the other phases are going to be, and it's a little hard to, it seems a little hard to me to kind of move ahead with this without knowing what those other pieces
Well, we just
are.
had an example this evening with the sidewalk grants, the monies that weren't used because certain things weren't done, and now it's being applied to the new sidewalk project. So there's an example of where that could
Well, it
also
wasn't
flux.
that things weren't done, it was completed, but
Under
we have
budget.
money left over.
But money was left over.
From the grant.
And thanks for correcting me on that. Yeah.
So I'm not shy, so I said to them,
Right.
well, can we put it on this other one? And
Right.
they said yes, so figure if you don't ask, you don't get.
So I guess,
That's
Ian,
a good point.
I guess we're asking Ian, though, to put together a resolution for the in-between meeting, and I'm just...
Well, I'm going to meet with them and get some clarification about exactly what they're,
Oh, okay. All
what
right.
they're applying for anyway, before we actually do a meeting.
Okay, so you'll have a conversation with them anyway in the next
Oh,
week?
yes.
Okay, before the
I
meeting.
believe the
Probably
grant's a
more than
feasibility
one.
study grant, right?
Well, they have, I thought that's what they got from the landscape architect already. it seems to me that it needed to be developed further in order to put prices to it, which was not possible with what they already have.
I didn't know if it was an engineering, like the next step would be the engineering feasibility. If it's a feasibility, what
I'm sorry.
harm does it have being in there?
Right. I may be misstating. Maybe the first thing was a comprehensive plan, not a feasibility study, but there is apparently a next design step or engineering step in order to have an idea of what it's going to cost. And that's what they're applying for. But Victoria, if you're going to talk to them this week, that sounds like that solves the problem.
Yeah, I'll be spending time with them this week.
Any information they can provide, because I agree it's not altogether clear, and I don't have a wealth of knowledge about what is happening and with the grant, so.
Well, it sounds like Victoria will speak to them and let you know that.
Perfect.
Right? Okay.
Are there any other town board comments on any other topic?
Yeah, I have one. I've been working with the wastewater committee, I think, since 2012. And that project had a lot of hardworking people, as this one does. And I believe that when we proposed the project, it went down by a resolution. People voted. I'm having difficulty.
It never went to resolution.
It didn't?
No, we put on the referendum the purchase of the Allen Sand and Gravel, of
that's what
which
it was.
wastewater was a portion of it. It was not voting up or down. It was
was the Allen
purchasing
project.
$800,000 for the Allen Sand and Gravel, of which sewer was one of the proposed uses there.
Right. So thank you for correcting me on that. That's what it was. I do remember talking to a lot of people that frankly said they wouldn't vote for it, which was very disheartening at the time. I am having trouble digesting an accusation that Dutchess County and Ian are obstructionists right now in moving forward with this project. I think having an open, respectful conversation is productive. But I think throwing such a extremely venomous accusation is not appropriate.
I apologize that you feel that way. I do apologize to Ian and the leadership. I think we have 60 years of stalemate here, and I am frustrated and need to see that $3,000 of preliminary investigation into the efficacy of this property is, to me, it is an outsized risk assessment that I just don't agree with. So I apologize if my agreement, my thought is that a risk assessment of $3,000 to move this needle forward versus going around and around for another 2 or 3 months is not the best use of the town's attorney fees, the town's time, engineering fees. I think we need to get the first baby step done as to whether or not this is a property that could move that needle forward for us. It's in the comprehensive plan. I'm not speaking on my own. This is something that on the 100-page comprehensive plan says from start to finish, a lot of the goals will never be achieved in the town of Amenia without a wastewater. I'm sorry, but I feel passionately that either we do something or we don't. I just, continuing to try and say that this is an important goal, and to say that for $3,000 for this town that has a budget of $2 million, that we can't move the needle forward. It's been going on and on for way too long. We need to put some resources. We need to actually send a strong message that this is an important goal for the town.
I thank you, and I thank Brad for, thank you.
Are there any additional town board comments?
Oh, I had one. Yes, I had one more. I just wanted to note that the Amenia Garden Club tour was a great success this year. They pre-sold 170 tickets, which is like way beyond pre-COVID years, and we're very excited about that. And people seem very happy, and it was busy and fun. So thank you to everyone who came, and look for next steps from the Garden Club.
If there are no other town board comments, I make a motion to go into executive session for legal advice regarding fees in the workforce housing amendment with the town attorney and Charlie Miller, and the town clerk is excused. Is there a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll second.
See, now I would second that one if I could. No.
I know, but I'm out of water. It was very trying. I'm going to go get water.
The time is now 9:27. Supervisor Prodi will take the minutes.
Wait, I'm sorry. What?
Supervisor Prodi is going to take the minutes. So Supervisor Prodi, Councilpersons Doyle, I am taking a roll call. We're still actually in a live meeting.
Oh, you are?
I'm only going based off of, in the back of the room.
Yes. Okay.
Everybody needs to vote. Yes, we're going into executive session.
Oh, great. Hey, Mike, say hi.